mean, we'll still put something there. But right here, it can sometimes indent, and this gap right here can be a pain. But
right. And then it's also
she just showed me is like right here.
And then also the top area as well is where I can fit my finger through the door.
Okay. Well, he's got all the weather stripping that he needs to put new weather stripping in there.
Mm-hmm. And then I think just besides that, and then the fireplace, that's pretty much
the fireplace? Okay. What do you think, Brew? Is the fireplace not turning on?
No, the light switch is behind the TV. It's plugged in, has like a little button thing that's like right here. But anytime I flip the switch, it will start for maybe a couple seconds and then it turns off immediately. And that's all I get from it. And it'll turn on for a little bit and then it just turns off.
Okay. Yeah, like that. Just went out.
This one.
Here, and I can turn this off and move it for you. And as you can tell, when I turn it off, the light just switched.
So these have a high draw on them. They're usually around like 12.5 amps.
Mm.
And we usually have, I think they're 20 amp circuit breakers that we have.
Should I flip the switch for you in case it's still going or whatever? So it looks like now it's turned back on again. Okay.
Let's see if I can find what this thing is. So yeah, this is a 1500 watt.
I'm fine with moving the location of the heater in another downstairs area. The only problem is I think it's like 5 or 6 total vents upstairs, but only 2 down here. And so that's a heat discrepancy issue, I believe.
So let's get this. So here's what I would say. Like, is there a reason? Do you have a preference of using these versus using?
I would use the fireplace if it works. It's just it keeps turning off and on.
Because I'll tell you, like, just from what I've seen in my years of experience, is that gas is a much cheaper fuel source, and so. I know these things are really convenient, but the thing is that when you compare over a month long in the wintertime, additional draw from something like this versus the amount of gas that you use, the cost benefit ratio is well in favor of the gas. It's a lot cheaper, and in my eyes, they quit using gas in Seattle. It's now like outlawed for all new construction. So 1560 hertz. Doesn't have the amperage, but I could find that. So let's see.
These batteries.
Yeah, if I could get the fireplace working, that would definitely help. I think the biggest heat discrepancy from the upstairs and downstairs, like I said, is just from the number of vents that are actually down here.
For
and
sure.
Just the floor.
And I think the reason they did that is because they put a fireplace in, right?
Right.
So even in my house, the upstairs, I mean, there's a couple reasons for that. One, you have
Heat
more
rises.
vents up there, but 2, heat rises, right?
Yeah.
So I would say use that. It'll probably work a heck of a lot better than any heater you have, any electric heater. And then the other benefit is that you won't be throwing circuit breakers,
Right.
So it'll just work out better all around.
Okay. But yeah, I'm not sure what exactly is wrong with the gas fireplace. They've inspected it in the beginning. I think it was March or April this year.
Yeah, I'll tell you, these buildings are just they're not old. But I mean,
they weren't built with the best materials.
What's that?
They weren't built with the best materials.
Well, they just over time, parts get a little bit older. We fix them. We do thorough maintenance on everything, especially during a unit term. We do a lot of preventative maintenance. But they're old buildings. They settle. The doors kind of get a little thrown off kilter.
Right.
And it just happens. It just happens. If it was new construction, then I'd be super concerned about it. But it's not. It's had time to get dust and this and that, and it's just part of living in not an older building, but something that wasn't built yesterday. So.
Right. Yeah, because I've had my own places before in Texas, which was built, and then here in Snohomish, which was like built in '72, I think. But,
Yeah.
Yeah, the issues I found is just either time, right, when things get to 20, 30 years old, they usually conk out, or it's just like cheap materials.
Well, and there's an expected life for everything, right? So if you got a water heater, it usually has an expected life between 7 and 10 years. If you take care of it, you can get that to 15, sometimes 20. But parts are going to wear out. You're going to have to replace recirculating pipes and all the other components that come with it. So, and that's true for anything that's in your home. So it's true for the fireplace. It's true for the range and everything else. But the good news is, I think my main concern is I want you to feel heard. I want you to see that we're going to do something about it. Like, I normally don't come out for stuff like this, but I want you to know that, we'll give it our full attention. As far as getting another maintenance specialist in here, I don't think that's going to be possible. We're currently hiring, and we've given out a lot of. I've had such a hard time getting qualified maintenance specialists out, and we're trying to find new ways of attracting qualified people, but it's really difficult, especially in this industry right now. Right. And for like Farouk, for example, if I were to basically have it so that he was now assigned to Bridge Creek. Well, he's worked really hard so that he can have the benefits. If I can ever figure out how to turn this light off. But he's worked really hard so that he can have a schedule where he can come to work at 6:30 in the morning and be off by 3:30 or 2:30. And he also worked really hard to be able to get assigned to a property that's near his home on the north end. And so, if I were to take him from his position over there and put him over here, there's not enough units here to keep him busy full time, and it would put his property load so that he's responsible for a number of properties that would be way too much for anybody. Right. And so it's just if I take from one property to give here, that causes a deficit somewhere else, and then I have to shovel all our staff around. We just don't have the manpower right now.
No, I understand that. My issue is just that it's been repeated issues with that particular technician, and when I asked Kathy because Washington State has a two-party consent laws, if it would be acceptable just to even record it, just because there is that miscommunication between the maintenance worker and then Kathy and whatever else is going on. She just was like, well, I guess we're not going to get that notice on your door for 24 hours, for the 48-hour notice. And then it wasn't until after we talked that then she sent the email and then got it posted on the door, stuff like that. So it's not like I completely understand. I don't even call maintenance that often unless there's an issue with the circuit breaker or something like that. But it's just when there is an issue, I just want to make sure that it's taken care of and not just kind of swept under the rug with Kathy. For sure. Or with him just coming in, because I really do have an issue with people coming into my apartment.
And I get that. I 110% get that. And so I think this whole recent situation has kind of drawn his attention to the necessity to knock and to be a little bit more, I can tell you just from a maintenance guy standpoint or maintenance lady standpoint, we've got such a huge load right now that people, especially high performers, they get in this groove and they're just moving and banging, and they get done with one thing and they move to the next and want to get it done so they can go get the next thing off the plate. Right. And so he probably just got moving a little too quick, and it caught him off guard, and there's not an excuse for it. There's just not. So I'm going to speak to him, already have, but I'm going to speak to him again and make sure, especially when it comes to your unit, that he knocks at least 3 times before coming in, and when he comes in, he cracks the door and says, EHA maintenance, I'm entering your home. And it's not just a ring, and it's not just opening the door and walking in. So we'll take care of that, I promise you.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. What do you think, Farouk?
Veterans, thank you for your service. It was your day,
Friday? Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you in the service?
Yeah, she
You were in the Army?
Air Force.
Air Force? Okay.
Yeah, they got me out of high school. They were like, "Hey, you could not pay for college." I was like, "Thanks, military. I'll leave right now."
Right.
So yeah, they got me at 17. That was fun.
17, jeez.
Yeah.
I went in at 22.
Oh, were you commissioned?
No, I wasn't. I was an Army Ranger. I was in the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg.
Where is that located?
So that is in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's where they have. I was going after Special Forces, so that's where Home of Special Forces and the Airborne is.
Yeah.
In North Carolina.
I had my tech school in Biloxi. I think it's Keesler over there, and so we went to Carolina a few times. But it was beautiful, minus the beige colored water that came out of the taps and the chemically altered water from the oil spill. That was lots of fun.
When was that? Was that 2010?
It happened in 2010, the oil spill, but I went to tech school in 2013.
Yeah,
when
I
it was like
remember that oil spill because I was in Afghanistan at the time.
Yeah.
I remember it happening. So, yeah, anytime those small Air Force bases, like we were next to a really big one, Pope Air Force Base.
Oh, yeah.
But I had to go on the small ones a few times. Like I went to Eglin, and it wasn't the most, updated experience there. Even at Fort Bragg, though, like our unit came home from deployment one time, and we were still living in those, pre-World War II barracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like something happened to where in one of the shower rooms, and we had just gotten back from deployment, mind you, and like there was raw sewage all over the place and all this gross stuff. And so one of the dads of the soldiers went there and videoed it and put it all over YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
So within like 18 months, we had brand new barracks, and so.
That's kind of what happened with ours, because my old BMT squadron that we were in was like the original barracks that they built for Lackland Air Force Base. So they were built like 1950s, I think. And so we had 8 shower heads for like the 60 trainees in the flight, and like only 2 or 3 worked. And like by working, they were either like jets or they would kind of like trickle off the wall kind of deal. And then one time we had like a raccoon, and then another time an opossum like fall from the ceiling. They were like those little like, plasterboard type ceiling tiles. It was like that, and they would just fall through. And then they would have us trainees like paint the black mold off the walls and stuff like that.
Paint the black mold off the walls. Oh my god.
It's better than painting the grass. That was really stupid.
Yeah, I've heard about that before. It's
interesting.
They made us do a bunch of stupid stuff too. Like when I went to Ranger Battalion, they basically didn't have anything for us to do, so they sent us out into the lawn with scissors. And rulers and 4 inches. It's like, really? Is this what we're doing? Great government spending.
It's like, I know you guys are going to complain in a couple months, like, oh, the squadron hasn't been meeting its goals.
Yeah, I'm sure, like, any reasonable, intelligent, enlisted person, after about 3 years, you've had enough.
Yeah.
Usually it doesn't even take that long. How long were you in for?
Just a little over 4 years.
Yeah, same here.
I think I was able to get out early for my contract, but I had 6 years in, and I got out right before the 2016 election was like finalized.
Okay.
But it came down to Clinton and Trump, and I was like, bye.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
When did you get out?
I got out in 2012, so I was in from the very end of 2007 to 2012 Halloween Day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I got injured pretty bad when I was employed, and then I got into a really bad parachute accident when I was training.
Yeah.
So I almost broke my back. Yeah, and then I got blown up a couple times. I got shrapnel in my legs. So yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, Uncle Sam.
Did you go to BAMC for your recovery after
Go where?
the explosion? BAMC?
No, I didn't. I went to Womack Army Medical Center, which is on. Yeah, that's on Fort Bragg. And so I got blown up, and I immediately redeployed. I mean, I've basically got sent over to Ramstein. And I was in Ramstein for like 2 days, and that was it because I wanted to go back to my unit, and I did. I was on a team. Basically, it was a really small team of there were 2 JTAC. Well, it's 1 JTAC and a PJ, and then there were 3 Navy SEALs and then 3 Army Rangers. And so that was our small little HV team. Yeah, and we. I was only in Afghanistan the first time for 4 months. And that was it. So I had a lot of fun, but I also went to Haiti. I was deployed to Haiti.
During the earthquake, or?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yep. I was one of the first people on the ground to help secure the airport so we could start landing planes and do all that fun stuff.
I almost got a pretty nice deployment to Brazil. Then last second I got pregnant, and I was like, no.
Brazil?
Yeah, because I was finance, and I was specifically a deputy dispersing officer. So I was in charge of what's called revolt. Then it has like $250,000 to like $500,000 in just cash, and you have to deal with like vouchers, lines of accounting, and processing all the trainees, their easy pay cards, stuff like that. But specifically for the Brazil deployment, I would have just done my exact same job, but in Brazil.
Yeah.
And I would have done the like suitcase handcuffed with like security dogs and guns kind of deal.
Yeah.
So it would have been all like what's it called? Tax-free payment. I forget what it's called right now.
Yeah, it's tax-free. Basically, anytime you're outside of the continental United States,
right.
You don't have any of the same taxes.
Because it was gonna be like $50,000 after everything was said and done, and that
lot
was
better.
Before the taxes. And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, because you get like separation pay. You get I don't know about
how does duty pay? Yeah.
All that stuff. There you go, Farouk. Looks like you fixed it. Maybe.
A little bit just waiting for the kick in of the fan. The thermocouple is there to probably need I just cleaned it up. I don't have one in
Do
my.
you think it should be replaced?
It should be replaced.
Okay. Well, we can.
Can you get that terms?
Huh?
Can you get that drill up there? The glow drill. Just leave it out. I'm sorry. I forget what is this is first time.
So what was wrong with it?
So it's got this little thing in it called a thermocouple, and it if it gets dust on it, it can make it so that the connection is kind of faulty.
Yeah.
And so he cleaned that up. And what we'll do, it
I
should
replaced
work.
these batteries too.
You replace the batteries
Yeah.
for the electric starter. So what we'll do is we'll put in another work order for the thermocouple to be replaced, so you get a brand new one, and that should take care of it shutting off whenever it starts up.
Yeah.
Right, Farouk? Is that basically it?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Waiting for the fan to kick in.
The blower?
And that's it. Part of the thermal switch that's inside here, so thermal switch should tell the electric fan to kick.
Does it have to get? It has to get heated up enough, right?
Yeah.
For it to switch on.
Is the fan to blow the hot air or to
Yep.
like blow carbon dioxide? Oh.
Just helps disperse the heat a little bit better.
Oh, this one doesn't have that part.
It doesn't? No blower?
No blower.
Okay. Well, it doesn't have a blower.
Oh, okay. Is it supposed to be attached? Is that like for the
No,
basic-
some have them.
Some kind haven't, so I really didn't.
Yeah, it's not all of them. But the big thing I want to leave with you, because I'm going to work here in just a few minutes, is you've got my cell phone number. Okay, so if you end up having real concerns after we try this fix, give me a call. I'll help you out. Okay? I don't want you to think any of my maintenance guys are going to do anything that, one, breaks the law, or 2, anything unethical, or 3, anything that would ever harm you. Because I knew these guys for years and years and years. And, we're always going to have some kind of incident, or, not do something 110% correct. But when those get brought to my attention, as you can tell, I do everything I can to make sure we do things the correct way and rectify it. So you've got my cell phone. If you need anything, you can give me a call for stuff that is above and beyond outside of work orders and that kind of stuff. So, and Kathy's gonna do her best to kind of, we'll use this as a reset in our relationship. And I want her to treat you with respect and you to treat her with respect, because the best thing for both of us is for you to be happy.
Oh, I think those are stickers. They were noted on the initial inspection. I think they were stickers that got like melted. Yeah.
So anyways, I'll just leave you with that. If you need anything, give me a call.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you good, Farouk?
Yeah, I'm just gonna check the feather stripping up. I'm just kind of waiting for the see. So this is on a switch. To see if that the thermal switch that is there was the same thing that they installed. So cut it off.
Okay.
But that's need to reach certain temperature to
Right.
So
Before, so
I'm
if
sure
it
they
reaches
have it here.
a certain temperature, it will shut off.
should go like it's almost like a thermostat part. So shut
It's
it
a
off.
safety issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's overheat, actually, you can go for this for hours. But if it gets start overheating,
It'll
you'll
shut
shut
off.
it off.
Right. Okay.
And then we'll keep that pilot will be still on with a
Mhm.
little tiny flame. So when it's cooled down enough, then it'll kick in the valve open again. And you have a fire flame. Again.
Perfect.
Do you know what the temperature is that it does shut off at? Or is it just whenever the thing itself overheats?
If it's same like those Air Force heaters, if it's, when you have like, let's say on 70 or 80, and thermostat will work like when you reach the temperature in your room, it'll turn off. But in the case that it's too big space that you can't heat it up, that switch actually will go and kind of turn it off. That's like safety, like when heaters do.
Okay.
So.
Is that smell normal? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So especially when they're not run, like I tell everybody, run your fireplace for like an hour. It's all the lint and everything else.
Okay.
So like once a month, even in the summer, you should turn it on and let it run like 45 minutes or so, just to make sure none of that stuff builds up.
In this unit?
I think since like early March of this year. Hasn't been too long.
Well, I was anybody before was using it.
Right. They might not have used it at all. So.
And then, should I worry at all about whatever residual plastic melted stuff is on the glass? Because I tried to clean it off before, and they tried to scrape it off during the inspection, but we weren't able to. But I don't know if maybe it's just because it hasn't been like heated up enough that it's not coming off.
I would say at this point, it's not going to be any danger.
It's really hot, so.
It's already burnt on there, but I mean, it's not. We can.
That's fine if it stays. I'm just making sure it's
Probably
fine.
a piece of glass. That's something. I'll talk with Kathy and Lynn.
Yeah, Wayne will know.
Yeah, he's honestly the master when it comes to
that guy's he's a really good technician, so it would be nice that we can help you. And, Lynn is one of them.
He is one of the best, but it's a language barrier there too that can sometimes be difficult.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I wish I had one of these in my house.
Weather stripping now.
I appreciate you guys fixing the fireplace.
Yeah, this should be a big help, especially like on this cold nights. The other thing is, where is the vent? Is it under this?
It's just under this part of the sectional.
Yeah.
But if I move it forward, it has to be moved because technically the vent's like past the wall by maybe like 3-4 inches, and then there's a vent. And then if I move it another 12 inches, as the thing states, it would literally be like maybe right here, starting.
I mean, I don't think you need to do that. It's definitely not a fire hazard or anything like that. But as far as air circulation, like right now, it's probably heating up the bottom of your couch, and that's getting nice and toasty. But
Well,
you're
that's
never
the one
gonna
that
feel
I've closed. Yeah, because that's the only vent that's closed in
Oh,
the
it's
whole
closed?
apartment.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's open, but that's the only other vent that was downstairs, and that was the issue.
Well, if it's
Yeah.
still really cold in here, that could be something that could help.
Mm.
But I mean, if you got this kicking,
Yeah, that should be good.
yeah, you'll be all right. You'll be good.
Yeah, there's just because of one is there, that's kind of take a long time to heat up here. So if you have them both and those upstairs partially closed,
Yeah, because the upstairs is always going to be hottest.
then there is also one part in all this, that the air return is right there. So that air will still circulate. The hot air will come down.
Yeah.
Because,
So that's the air return.
Yeah.
So that's what.
so this part
goes in.
is sucking again in the furnace and circulating, so it'll pull down that hot air and keep circulating. So.
I thought that wasn't the heater vent though, right there, because that one doesn't kick on if I turn on the.
Right. That's the return.
Yeah, that's
so
a return.
basically, air's going into that. And it just makes a big circle. It goes downstairs, it gets heated up, and then goes back out, and then you got the hot air coming out through all the vents, and then it returns and goes back into there.
Is it supposed to like have suction and stuff? Because like if I turn it on, it doesn't.
It's so
come on.
very light.
Well,
It's not noticeable.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's just when the blower is on, when you start to see the air coming there, and then it's going here, but going that way inside. And so
there's there's a measurement called CFM or cubic feet per minute.
Yeah.
And that's probably around like a 2.
Oh,
I mean, it's
so it's just a
very
lot
low.
quieter
Yeah.
than everything else.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was gonna say I don't notice that on whenever like I turn on the heat and like the vents come on.
Yeah, even with like large scale air conditioning systems, the returns, it's hard to notice sometimes. But if there's anything else you need, put in a work order. If you have trouble with anything, give me a call. But we'll just kind of keep doing our normal thing.
Okay, perfect.
So, all right.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you, Isabel. It was good meeting you.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Nice to meet you too.
Take care.
Thanks.
And are you gonna look at this a little bit, Farouk?
I try to get these pull out and replace this leg and this one here, and just 2 of those. I think this one is
Okay. From what I saw of the picture, this is like the biggest area. So.
Well, that one and then the top as
And
well.
then the top as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what you're doing. He's a pro.
I was gonna say if we can't do the ones that actually go inside of the door frame, what I've had at my other house when the flood came out to do weather stripping or whatever, is they had like little flaps, so that way it doesn't impact if the door or the door frame is shrinking or. No, so they're like you screw them into the top
Yeah. The flops for the skirt ones. Yeah, I remember.
I was thinking about when I was coming here to do that too, but let's try these ones now and then.
Okay.
Then we'll see. Those are kind of when you close the door, kind of back into the door.
Yep.
You screw them.
Yep, I remember those.
Because of settling of the building, sometimes just to have.
Yeah, it makes it a little wonky.
Get this stripping working right.
Well, if anybody can do it, it's him. So.
Perfect.
There's also one more thing here. This hinge.
Yep, that's no bueno.
What's
Found
wrong
something
with it?
new.
Oh,
Doesn't have
shit.
any.
Lock plate. Damn.
Yeah.
So we're gonna grab some stuff.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. I'm just gonna close the door just a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.